Picture waking up in a parallel world where there is only one man for every 5 women. It sounds like every guy's fantasy, doesn't it? Not quite. In this world, women are not merely confident. They are predators. This is Masadu. He believes he is simply enjoying a fortunate university life surrounded by supportive female friends. What he does not realize is that the kind older woman from his workplace is secretly filming him in the shower while his adorable classmate is already imagining how to remove any girl who dares to get too close to him. He thinks he is popular. We know he is the target. Can our clueless hero survive in a world where one innocent smile can ignite a war? Let's find out. Nearly everyone has probably dreamed at least once of being desired by the opposite sex. However, when a random woman aggressively approaches the protagonist, Masadu, and pressures him to spend time with her, he realizes this was never the kind of attention he wanted. After he politely turns her down, the girl insists that he at least share his contact details. Understanding that she will not leave him alone unless he gives in, Masadu reluctantly reaches for his phone. At that moment, another girl appears behind him and wraps herself around his arm. He calls her Kumi, and Kumi reminds him that class is about to begin before pulling him away from the strange woman. Feeling that escaping like this might be rude, Masadu glances back, only to freeze in fear when he sees the woman's furious face as she clicks her tongue. Later, at the university, Kumi tells Masadu that he can simply ignore people like that. He says ignoring others is more difficult for him than it seems, and Kumi replies that he is just too kind. That was precisely what made him so concerning to her. Masadu feels that is a strange thing to say about a university student, but in this world, she is probably right. Masadu was never from this world in the first place. He was brought here 1 month earlier. At first, he did not notice anything unusual because this world looked almost identical to the one he came from. Before long, however, he discovered that its gender balance was wildly distorted, with 5 women for every 1 man. He has no idea what caused such an extreme gap, but because of it, women here tend to be much more forward. There has even been recent talk about legalizing polygamy. Once Masadu understood the situation, his first reaction was fear. Back in his original world, he had friends he attended school with, laughing together over pointless little things. Only after losing that everyday life did he realize just how valuable it had been. He believed his ordinary life was gone forever, but luckily, he met someone who became his guardian, and also found a friend who helps him whenever he gets into trouble. Besides, not everything has gone badly. Thanks to the uneven gender ratio, even a beautiful girl like Kumi now shows interest in him. In that sense, he feels somewhat fortunate, and by looking at things that way, he manages to stay optimistic. Even though the world around him has changed, he intends to live as normal a life as he can. As he grins quietly to himself, Kumi smiles beside him, realizing just how simple-minded he truly is. 1 week earlier, Kumi had been on her way to university, yawning after staying up too late gaming the night before. More than anything, she was irritated by OP players, believing they should not join the game just to get attention. Setting that aside, as she continued toward her classroom, she overheard a few people talking about her. When she turned toward the voices, she saw 2 men, one openly rating her looks at 85 points, while the other smugly claimed she had only barely passed. One of them even added that if Kumi asked him out, he might be willing to consider her. Kumi walked away furious, wondering why men had to be so full of themselves. In her eyes, they made no particular effort and had nothing especially outstanding about them. Yet thanks to the gender ratio, they acted superior, talking as if accepting a girl would be some kind of favor. While those unbearable thoughts swirled in her head, she bumped into a boy and immediately apologized. He told her it was fine, but then, out of nowhere, asked if she had fallen for him at first sight and suggested she could be his 3rd girlfriend. It was exactly the kind of behavior she had just been thinking about, and her irritation nearly boiled over. Later, in the classroom, she is still visibly frustrated by what happened that morning. Her friend Mizuho notices and asks what is wrong, saying that at this rate, Kumi looks like she will not survive until 5th period. Kumi agrees, and Mizuho tells her she will never be popular if she stays like this, insisting they should push through for the campus life they always dreamed of. With that, Mizuho brightly raises her hand and declares that they need to catch themselves a handsome guy. Kumi still struggles to accept it. Even if men are rare and treated as valuable, she cannot stand the way they look women up and down. Mizuho then asks who Kumi is targeting in their badminton club. Kumi says she does not have anyone in mind at the moment, and Mizuho points out that Kato from the club is fairly good-looking. Kumi admits it is not that she has no interest in having a boyfriend. She is simply tired of always being placed in the position of waiting to be chosen. What she wants is a guy who is kind to women, treats them fairly, and has a clean, pleasant appearance. Even so, she understands that in this world, wanting someone like that is practically a fairy tale. Mizuho remarks that although Kumi is very cute, she is surprisingly passive. She believes that unless Kumi actively goes after someone, she will end up alone. Deep down, Kumi knows that is probably true. After class, Kumi later receives some seriously irritating news. Her next lecture has been cancelled, and to make matters worse, none of her friends are free. Just as she is growing annoyed with having nothing to do, she hears someone nearby sounding completely lost about which classes to choose. It turns out to be Masato, sitting on a nearby bench with his laptop open and looking extremely stressed. Kumi can tell the boy is clearly struggling, but when she glances around, there is no one else near him. Remembering how men usually are, she assumes someone will probably come along and help him. And yet, for some reason, leaving him by himself feels wrong. She also wonders why he seems different from other men. He is good-looking, though not exactly celebrity-level handsome, so it does not feel like his appearance is the reason. Instead, it feels as if something inside him is shining. She decides to approach him, telling herself she is not expecting anything and is only a little curious, nothing more. She walks up and asks if he is trying to register for his courses, and he says yes. With a smile, he explains that for some reason, his enrollment process was delayed, which catches Kumi completely off guard. She is so surprised that she wonders whether men were even capable of smiling that naturally. She offers to help him, but her nerves make her stumble over her words, and she panics, worrying that Masato might think she is strange. Instead, his eyes light up as he asks if she would really help him, leaving her startled once again. She quickly turns her face away, trying to hide how shaken she is by his innocent smile. Meanwhile, Masato shifts over to make space for her on the bench and tells her which department he belongs to. This shocks her even more, and she wonders if he moved so she could sit beside him, then worries whether he might panic if she actually does. If that happens, Kumi is certain she will end up crying at her age and be seen as some crazy woman. Just then, Masato asks what is wrong, and she instinctively sits down while saying it is nothing. Looking at his screen, Kumi tells him that they are in the same department and faculty. Hearing that, Masato is surprised and thinks having a direct senior help him is incredibly useful. Kumi quickly explains that she is also a freshman, which leaves Masato looking confused. Kumi immediately panics again, wondering if she acted too forward for a freshman and whether Masato thinks she has some hidden motive. But it turns out Masato is actually relieved that she is a freshman too, since he has no friends in his year and her help means a lot to him. Then, with another gentle smile, he introduces himself as Kata Sato Masato and asks for her name. This catches her completely off guard, because he is kind and easygoing, nothing like the other boys. She tries to calm herself down and forces a smile, hoping not to embarrass herself any further. Then she introduces herself as Igarashi Kumi, giving him a bright smile. Right after that, she turns her face away again, wondering whether she managed to greet him properly. Masato explains that he has no idea which classes he should take. When Kumi looks more closely, she realizes his schedule is completely empty. Seeing that, she wonders if this might be her chance. Since they are in the same department, there should be no problem with him taking the same classes as her. She snaps back to reality when Masato calls her name, and nervously suggests that they could follow the same schedule. She explains that some classes are already in their second semester, and since she is already taking them, she can explain the material and share handouts, which would help him. However, because her nerves make her talk too fast, she worries Masato might think she sounds creepy. Instead, Masato gently says her name and asks if she is some kind of genius. He admits that it would be a huge help, but asks if she is really sure, since there is nothing in it for her. She assures him that there are plenty of benefits for her, so it is completely fine. Kumi feels overwhelmed and wonders if this is all a dream. Why is Masato not suspicious of her, and why is he not laughing at her? After she helps him choose his classes, Masato thanks her, although she feels like she barely did anything. He then says he is going home, since there is no point attending class when his student ID still has not arrived. Kumi agrees, saying they will see each other once he begins attending classes. She feels genuinely happy, realizing this is the first time she has ever enjoyed talking to a guy, and now she knows she will be seeing him every day. Then she notices Masato glancing around and asks him if something is wrong. He hesitates for a moment before saying there is something he wants to ask her. When she asks what it is, he wonders if, as long as she is okay with it, she would become his friend. The question hits her straight in the heart. For her entire life, she had always been the one waiting to be chosen, but now, for the first time, she is the one being given the choice. Snapping out of her daze, she answers that of course they can be friends. Masato looks overjoyed and explains that he does not have even one friend. He tells her that because of her, he is finally starting to look forward to university, then says goodbye and leaves. Once he is gone, Kumi sinks to the ground, clutching her chest as she murmurs that she cannot handle this anymore. Her heart will not stop pounding, and she keeps repeating Masato's name. To her, he is like a prince, exactly the kind of man she has always dreamed of, and now she wants every part of him. But to make that happen, she knows she has to keep watching him, because if she does not, other girls will swarm him immediately while he remains far too clueless to notice. Back in the present, as the two walk together, Masato suddenly stops stops, causing Kumi to ask what is wrong. He says it is nothing and asks her to hold out her hand for a second, which she does without questioning him. Masato then drops 2 candies into her palm as thanks for earlier, apologizing that they are only little snacks. Smiling, he thanks her again for helping him. Her heart races all over again, and she accidentally blurts out that it is unfair. Before he can ask what she means, she quickly says it is nothing. What feels unfair is that Masato keeps doing the very things she has always wished someone special would do for her, then casually surprises her with tiny acts of kindness that make her happy. She believes his kindness has saved her, even though life is still difficult for her right now. Even so, she is convinced that someday she will become this person's girlfriend. A few days later, outside Masato's apartment, someone reminds him that it is nearly noon, and he replies that he knows. A full month has already passed since he arrived in this parallel world. Here, there had originally been someone named Kato Masato, a boy who had just finished high school and was getting ready for university. When Masato first arrived, he felt uneasy, but he is now able to live a normal life, all thanks to a woman named Tsukuda Ika. After greeting him in the morning, she reminds him that he has work today and tells him to come to the shop at 6 p.m. She was the one who helped him immediately after he came to this world, and since then, she has become something like his guardian, a woman he sees as a goddess. Although she is married, it appears that she and her husband are no longer living as a couple. Aka then says she noticed him showering right before work and tells him he does not need to go that far. Masato explains that he showers late because he exercises and ends up sweaty. She asks how university is going and whether he has made any friends, and he answers that he has. Aka finds that suspicious and warns him not to let some strange girl deceive him. She also tells him to let her know whenever he plans to stay out late and says he should finally stop using honorifics with her. Masato agrees to everything and quickly leaves, while she remains annoyed that he still has not dropped them. Later, he arrives in class, where Kumi calls out to him after saving him a seat. He thanks her and sits down, feeling grateful to have her as a friend. Suddenly, she pinches his arm to get his attention and suggests they eat together sometime, as thanks for saving him a seat. Masato is so struck by how cute she is that he wonders what kind of creature she even is, briefly questioning whether she might actually like him. He quickly snaps back to reality, dismissing the idea as pure delusion, and tells her he cannot tonight because he has work. She asks whether he always works on Fridays, and he says it is something like that. She then asks about Monday, and he agrees. This makes her extremely happy, and she lets out a quiet little yay. Once again, Masato is overwhelmed by how adorable she is and wonders if she is doing it deliberately, but he tells himself to stay composed and lets it go because she is cute. Masato then thinks that back in his original world, he probably would never have gotten close to someone like her, since she seems like the type of girl who would be very popular. Although he does not know much about her friends, he is sure they would want to take the same classes as her. Because of that, he feels slightly guilty about having her all to himself and asks if this arrangement is really okay with her. When she looks confused, Masato asks whether she would not rather attend classes with her friends instead of him. She says that is not the case, explaining that she can see her friends during club activities or at other times. He then tells her she should take classes with her friends too, saying he has already caught up with the lessons and can manage on his own. Hearing that, Kumi asks him why, while wearing a fake smile and staring at him with empty eyes. Masato is startled and wonders if he said something wrong, because even though she is smiling, something about her feels strangely terrifying. A few moments earlier, before Masato arrived, Kumi had entered the classroom and noticed that he was not there. So she decided to save him a seat and was in the middle of messaging him about it, wondering if adding a heart would make him think she was being cringe. But she shakes her head, believing he would not mind. 1 month has passed since she met Masato, and she has realized that he is far too kind, which makes her worry about what could happen if some awful woman tried to manipulate him. Because of that, she becomes determined to protect him, and to do so, she plans to stay by his side as much as possible throughout university. That way, she believes that someday he will fall in love with her, and just imagining it makes her want to protect him even beyond university. Just then, she receives a message from Masato with a thank you emoji, which she finds adorable. But the thing is, they have been spending so much time together that she wonders whether now is the moment for their relationship to move forward. Then Masato arrives, and she becomes completely certain that she wants him to be her boyfriend. That is exactly why she cannot confess until she is certain he will not turn her down, so she has to advance carefully, one step at a time. Since the next step is a date, she becomes incredibly flustered just imagining meeting him outside the world of university and learning more about him. So she asks him to treat her to a meal, and even though she knows it is bold, she has to do it if she wants him to notice her. Then he mentions his work shift, so she suggests Monday, and when he agrees, she is thrilled. Filled with excitement, she starts wondering where they should go and whether she should ask Masato directly. At that moment, Masato asks if she is really okay with not spending time with her other friends. Her thoughts immediately grow darker as she answers that it is not true, wondering what he means by saying that. As the conversation continues, Kumi's inner voice admits that she wants to stay with Masato, and even all the time they already spend together never feels like enough. So when he asks that, she starts wondering whether he does not want to be with her. When she asks why, Masato looks startled and simply explains that he thought she might want to take classes with other girls too. Kumi then asks if he dislikes taking classes with her, even though it is a question she never meant to say aloud, as if she has fallen into a trance. She goes further, asking whether he would rather take classes with some other girl. In her mind, someone like her, who is not cute, would only end up being disliked, and she desperately wants to avoid that. Deep inside, she begs Masato not to go somewhere beyond her reach and not to push her away. She finally snaps back to herself as Masato repeatedly denies it, saying that is not what he meant at all. He tells her he is grateful that a beautiful girl like her lets him take classes with her, and that nothing could be better than that, adding that he has no other friends besides her. Kumi is completely stunned when he calls her beautiful, so she asks if he really thinks she is cute. He confirms it and says he thinks it would be good if she had more confidence in herself. Kumi's face turns bright red as she becomes overwhelmed by being called cute. Hearing it from the person she likes makes her unbelievably happy, and she covers her face while giggling to herself. Later, once classes are over, they go their separate ways, but something continues to bother Kumi. It is the words she blurted out to Masato without thinking, things she never intended to say, especially since Masato had never even said he wanted to take classes with another girl. While she is still caught up in those thoughts, her friend Mizuho suddenly appears and hooks onto her arm, making her jump. Mizuho teasingly asks why she looks so love-struck, and Kumi immediately denies it. Even so, she blushes, wondering if she really had been making that kind of face. Seeing her reaction, Mizuho teases her again, saying she looks like a maiden in love. Then she asks when Kumi plans to introduce him, clarifying that she means the boy Kumi is always with in class. She also reminds Kumi that they promised to exchange information about guys. Mizuho points out that right after Kumi claimed they could not take the same class together, there was already a guy sitting beside her. Since Mizuho herself has a weakness for good-looking men, she is happy that Kumi has found someone. At that moment, Kumi bows deeply and apologizes with complete seriousness, saying she cannot introduce that guy to Mizuho. Mizuho is shocked and asks why, but Kumi apologizes again and insists that she means it. She has no intention of giving him to anyone, so introducing him to another girl is out of the question. As Kumi keeps insisting, Mizuho gives in, saying she cannot believe Kumi would say something like that while bowing to her best friend. Since that is how things are, Mizuho tells her to share information about other guys instead. Kumi agrees, saying she will do her best, then apologizes once more and thanks her. Mizuho hugs her and playfully says she will get a boyfriend first, while Kumi tells her not to touch her in strange places. Mizuho tells her to give it everything she has, which only strengthens Kumi's resolve. Ever since she fell in love with Masato, every day has felt enjoyable, and the world around her seems to shine. But whenever another girl gets close to him, something dark rises inside her, and she starts wondering whether she is not enough. Still, because it is Masato, she believes she would do anything for him and give him everything. As she thinks about it, she comes to realize that she is the kind of person who gets jealous very easily. Meanwhile, Masato is playing basketball and wondering what Kumi meant earlier, eventually deciding it should be fine since she looked happy. Just as he is about to shoot the ball into the hoop, a girl calls out to him from behind. The two clearly know each other as they begin talking. While back at the university, Kumi thinks she would hate it if Masato spent time with another girl. A short while earlier, because it is Friday, Masato had gone to the basketball court to play, following his usual routine of staying there until it was time for his part-time job. He likes this place because it is not crowded on weekdays, but in this world, he cannot fully enjoy playing since it is always filled with women. And since Kumi told him not to join her club either, all he can do for now is exercise by himself. Just as he remembers that he is not really alone anymore, the short-haired girl calls out to him. She declares that she will absolutely win today and force him to hand this spot over to her. Wearing a smug look, Masato calls her a little girl and asks if she has shown up again. Irritated, she tells him she is not a little girl. This girl is Mita Yuka, someone he met not long after arriving in this world. He had found this place because he wanted to play basketball, only to learn that Yuka had already been practicing here long before he ever came along. When they first met, he gave her the court, saying he was going home anyway and that she could use. The next time they crossed paths, he tried to give it to her again, but she challenged him to a match instead. Since then, he feels they have become much closer, and before he knew it, their games had turned into a contest over who had the right to claim the spot. For now, he believes he only has the upper hand because of the difference in their height. From what he has seen, Yuka has real talent, so he is sure he will lose once she gets older. Just then, Yuka says she has a secret strategy today and tries to rush past him, a move Masato recognizes immediately. Since he has seen it before, he moves to block her, but that is exactly what she was expecting. The moment he steps forward, she pivots cleanly and slips around him from the other side. Masato realizes what she is trying to do, but by then it is already too late and Yuka is sure she has pulled it off. Unfortunately, she trips, loses the ball, and starts falling face first. Masato catches her just in time, stopping her from hitting the ground and absorbing the impact himself. The position they end up in is incredibly awkward, and Masato realizes it immediately. His life flashes before his eyes as he imagines himself being arrested. Knowing he needs to get her to move right away, he calls out to her. But when she does not answer, he becomes confused. In reality, Yuka has also realized the situation too late, and after becoming overwhelmingly flustered, she ends up passing out. Masato is stunned, while the unconscious Yuka recalls the first time she was able to speak with him properly. 1 month earlier, Yuka was on her way to school when one of her friends revealed that she had started dating someone after confessing at the graduation ceremony. Her friend then asked whether Yuka had confessed to anyone, and Yuka answered that she had no one she liked. To her, every boy in her class was irritating. One day, after she had gotten sweaty and the outline of her underwear became visible, 2 boys made comments about her bra. Hearing them, Yuka quickly tried to cover herself, while another boy remarked that she was needlessly tall. The boy beside him said he had heard basketball made people grow taller, but the other replied that nobody liked tall girls and only weirdos were into them. Trying to lighten the atmosphere, one of Yuka's friends teasingly asked the boy if she was the right size, which embarrassed him, and he snapped that nobody would want someone like her either. The girl called him cruel and said Yuka stood out in a good way, something her friends believed even if Yuka herself did not. Simply because she was a little taller than everyone else, people teased her and decided her value without ever asking her, which she felt was wrong. Because of that, she could not find any of the boys appealing and found basketball far more enjoyable instead. That was why her friends called her a basketball fanatic. Unlike Yuka, they had joined the club to get closer to boys. Then one of them suddenly exposed Yuka as a secret pervert. Shocked, Yuka immediately tried to deny it, but her friend claimed everyone knew she secretly read dirty books during class. When another friend was about to mention that she had found something suspicious under Yuka's bed the other day, Yuka quickly covered her mouth. She believed that, as a girl, it was only natural for her to have some interest in men. Later, after parting from her friends, she went to the basketball court and noticed someone there, which was unusual at that hour. Since there were only 2 of them, she considered taking turns on the court, only to realize that the other person was a boy named Masato. Seeing a boy practicing alone struck her as strange, but she was soon taken aback by how fast he moved. She had only ever seen moves like that on television, so it was her first time watching someone play that well in person. Her attention was completely stolen, and she found herself pressed against the wire fence, unable to look away as Masato played. Just as she began thinking he looked incredibly cool, he noticed her standing there, and their eyes met. Her heart started pounding wildly as she realized how handsome he was and even wondered whether he smelled nice. Masato then told her he was leaving and that she could use the court. This caught her by surprise, and she wondered if he was going because she had arrived. At the same time, she thought he was kind for giving up the spot. Then it hit her that if they separated here, she might never see him again. She told herself to be brave, but when he walked past her, she was too shy to say anything. Because she stayed silent, Masato left, and all she could do was watch him walk away. Even so, she convinced herself there would be another chance, since she considered herself the kind of girl who never gave up. That was why, on the following Friday, the moment she spotted Masato from her classroom, she rushed straight to the court, leaving her friends behind. After running all the way from the classroom, she stopped in front of the court to catch her breath. She was relieved to see him there. After their first meeting, he had not shown up again, and she had been deeply worried. As she watched him play, she was once again captivated by his movements, finding him just as cool as before. When she stepped onto the basketball court, Masato immediately recognized her. The fact that he remembered her made her happy, but she knew she had to say something now so she would never have to fear losing the chance to see him again. Summoning her courage, she asked him to play a match with her, which caught Masato completely off guard. Seeing his reaction, Yuka panicked inside, wondering if he thought she was strange, but instead, Masato agreed, saying he had actually been looking for someone to play against. With a confident smirk, he warned her that he would not be holding back. When he told her to take the first move, she thought he was kind and could hardly believe she was really getting to play basketball with him. Once the game began, she could not defeat him, but it was more fun than anything she had ever experienced, and she wished the moment would last forever. Masato was impressed and told her she was good, and she thanked him, even though she had not managed to beat him at all. To Yuka, Masato was amazing at basketball. She had never lost to boys her own age before, and somehow that only made him seem even better, causing her to grin. Masato then asked if she was out of breath and reminded her to drink some water. When she checked her bag, she realized she had forgotten her water bottle. Masato offered her his, but she nervously refused, saying she had some allowance and could buy one herself. He told her not to worry and insisted she use his. As he held held the bottle out, she noticed it had already been opened, meaning he had already drunk from it. The realization that drinking from it would be an indirect kiss made her incredibly flustered. She tried to calm herself down, but she could not stop panting, desperately wanting to drink from it. Telling herself it was completely normal, she tried to take a sip, but her mind filled with thoughts of Masato's lips. Before she could even drink, she passed out. From that day onward, she remembers seeing Masato as strangely seductive. And even though she never got the indirect kiss, she feels oddly happy that she is now sitting on his chest. Just as that thought crosses her mind, she regains consciousness, and Masato asks if she is okay. She says she is fine, but when she realizes she passed out again, she wonders if Masato now thinks she is weird. He reassures her that it is completely fine, but since it is getting late, he suggests they head home for the day, and she agrees. Yuka's mood sinks. Even though she finally got to spend time with him, she feels like she ruined everything. Masato then places a hand on her shoulder and tells her it is fine. He says he will come back next week so she can try to claim the court again then. His smile and the closeness between them leave her deeply flustered. He lends her his towel, telling her to wipe off her sweat properly and assuring her that it is freshly washed and that he has another one for himself. The idea of using Masato's towel makes her heart race. He tells her to have more confidence, saying that even if things did not go perfectly today, her strategy was excellent and she is improving more and more, which makes it better for him as well. After that, he leaves while telling her they will see each other again next week. Once he is gone, Yuka reaches for the towel and realizes that Masato always knows exactly what she wants to hear. Ever since meeting him, she has come to understand how wonderful it feels to like someone. Her heart is now completely captivated by him. As she thinks this, she presses the towel against her mouth and wonders if someone like her is really allowed to feel this way about him. She then quietly apologizes to Masato for being a bad girl. Later, Masato is working at his part-time job, which happens to be in a bar. No matter how long he works there, he still cannot get used to the atmosphere. Even worse, watching the senior who has always been kind to him act overly cute is genuinely painful for him. When Ika took him in, the condition she gave him was that he had to work at her bar, Festa. Everyone treats him well and the work itself is not difficult, but the flirtatious atmosphere is something he simply cannot adjust to. Luckily, since he is not old enough to drink, he cannot sit with customers. Even so, one woman suddenly asks him to drink with her. He politely turns her down, explaining that he cannot drink, which clearly displeases her, until one of his seniors steps in and distracts her with his natural charm. Masato walks away with a relieved sigh, but because he cannot drink, he cannot accept most customer requests and can only listen to them. Just then, one of his coworkers approaches and tells him there is a request from table 3. He adds that it is the usual customer, teasing Masato for having a regular now and telling him to take good care of her. Realizing who that usual customer must be, Masato quickly heads over to table 3 and greets a woman named Sarah. When he comments that she has come again, Sarah nervously says she simply happened to have free time, though Masato is almost certain she said the exact same thing last week. This woman, Mochizuki Sarah, is slightly older than him, and Masato finds it strange that she keeps requesting someone as plain and boring as him. Sarah mentions that dealing with the previous customer must have been difficult, and from that, Masato realizes she saw the whole exchange. He blames himself, thinking that customers come here to drink and have a good time, yet he is someone who cannot do either. Sarah agrees, saying it is ironic that he works in a place like this when he cannot even drink. When he answers gloomily, she tries to cheer him up by saying she does not mind. She did not come there specifically to drink with someone, so she declares that she is the perfect match for him and that he should be grateful. Hearing this, Masato laughs softly and agrees that they really are a perfect match, thanking her for the encouragement. He thinks that although Sarah can be hard to understand sometimes, she is still a kind person. Just then, her friend arrives and teasingly says Sarah is completely head over heels for Masato. Sarah becomes flustered, but quickly makes an excuse, insisting she only came because her senior invited her. She insists that she chose Masato simply because talking to him is the least bad option, and he says he is happy either way. He adds that listening is the only thing he can really do here, so he enjoys hearing her stories. When she asks if he says that kind of thing to everyone, he firmly denies. He then offers her a glass and comments that she is the only customer strange enough to request him. She is surprised, then delighted, realizing that she truly is the only one who chooses him. Masato feels relieved to see that she is enjoying herself. In the past, she had not looked well at all, and he had been worried about her. While Masato shows her a photo of his cat, Sarah quietly thinks to herself that he is adorable, and that because of him, she can keep going. 1 month earlier, Sarah had gotten into an argument with a senior coworker at her office. The senior smugly declared in a loud voice that it was no wonder even men ran away from her. Hearing that, everyone in the office began whispering, speculating that she had been dumped. One coworker even revealed that the man in question had never considered them to be dating in the first place. Her first boyfriend back in university had also dumped her, asking asking if she was actually serious before admitting he already had 2 other girlfriends. She was devastated. Before she could even feel anger or hatred, she cursed her own stupidity. She asked herself why she had ever been happy with someone like that. Was it because everyone around her had boyfriends and she felt jealous? She wondered whether she had convinced herself that any man would be enough, calling herself an idiot again and again. Since then, she has lived alone for so long that she no longer even feels jealous. She simply wakes up, works, sleeps, and repeats. Then one day, one of her co-workers suggests they go to a boys' bar, a place she often visits, saying there are handsome guys there and that it might be good for Sarah's mental health. Sarah honestly just wants to go home and sleep, but since this co-worker, Maki, has been helping her so much lately, she cannot refuse. Maki adds that Sarah has not seemed well lately, so she thought inviting her out might help lift her spirits. Hearing that, Sarah is surprised and agrees. Maki is so happy that she hugs her, saying she is sure Sarah will enjoy it. Sarah hopes that will be true. Although Sarah has never been to a place like this and sees herself as a dull woman, she still cannot reject Maki's thoughtful invitation. She decides she will make a little casual small talk and then leave quickly. When they enter the bar, Maki is greeted by a guy she clearly knows, and she answers in a soft, affectionate voice, saying she has come again. Sarah is stunned and wonders if Maki really speaks like that. While she is still processing it, the guy, Yusuke, asks who she wants to request tonight, and Maki immediately says it is obviously him because she is devoted to him. Seeing such an unexpectedly girlish side of her senior shocks Sarah so deeply that she wishes she had never witnessed. Just then, more handsome boys greet them, and Sarah blushes at the sight. As she sits down and drinks, she finds the boys genuinely attractive and thinks this might actually improve her mood. However, she is also certain that men like them are probably laughing at women like her on the inside, thinking they are pathetic for paying just to speak with men. Even so, the boys keep smiling and talking to them politely, without showing even the slightest trace of irritation, so they have done nothing wrong. Sarah realizes that lately, she has become unbearably negative. For now, she only wants to go home, and although she hopes the host assigned to her arrives soon, she doubts she will enjoy. She plans to leave after a short polite conversation anyway, since she has housework to catch up on tomorrow. As she wonders if sleeping until noon might be nice, a voice suddenly calls out to her, addressing her as Milady. The voice belongs to Masato, who greets her with warmth and professionalism. The moment she sees him, Sarah wonders if he might be an angel, while Masato asks for her name. Caught off guard, she quickly looks away and answers that it is Sarah. She is surprised to meet someone like him. He looks innocent, with such a baby face that she feels a strange urge to protect him. Masato asks if she came after work, and she replies that she has the day off tomorrow. Masato immediately says that is wonderful, explaining that having a day off to look forward to makes Friday nights exciting. Sarah chuckles and agrees, then surprises herself by realizing she actually smiled. She assumes it is because Masato is nothing like what she had expected. When he asks what she plans to do on her day off, she casually says she has recently gotten into gaming. She immediately regrets saying it, worrying that it sounds too nerdy and that Masato will think she is some kind of otaku. Instead, he looks interested and asks what kinds of games she enjoys. Surprised, she tells him RPGs. Masato says he loves RPGs too and asks for her recommendations. Hearing that, her thoughts spiral. She wonders if he is mocking her and whether talking to a boring woman like her is only part of his job. But then she reminds herself that this place is supposed to be for her own enjoyment, decides to stop overthinking, and drains her entire drink. She then pours out all her frustration about her boss and how she was humiliated in front of everyone, and Masato agrees that it sounds awful. Only afterward does she realize she has been venting, wondering why she is even talking about this and how many drinks she has already had. Even so, she keeps going, saying the real idiot is herself for actually believing her ex-boyfriend wanted a real relationship and letting herself get swept away. Masato asks if he was the one who asked her out. She confirms that he was, but adds that she should have realized how foolish she had been. Masato gives his honest opinion, saying that it is terrible and that she did nothing wrong. Sarah replies that this is simply how things are for women, adding that they really do not have a choice. Masato says that is unforgivable. He says that just because men are fewer in number than women, it does not make them superior, and he admits how much he hates guys who become arrogant because of that. Sarah is stunned, wondering why he is getting angry for her sake when he could simply sit back and wait. Women would gather around him and shower him with attention, yet he acts nothing like the men she knows. Masato then says that if it were him, he would want to date someone like Sarah. His words catch her completely off guard, and her eyes widen in surprise. More than that, something inside her seems to snap. From that day on, she cannot get Masato out of her head, and ever since then, her world has felt much brighter. She begins improving herself so she can become someone worthy of Masato, and from that point forward, work no longer feels like a burden. Every bit of effort she puts in becomes something she wants to spend on him. She even keeps a photo of him saved on her phone, looking at it every night, and she can no longer longer imagine her life without him. Back during her first visit to the bar, Maki tells Sarah they are leaving and asks how long she plans to keep flirting. Sarah quickly denies that she was flirting and calls Masato lanky, but her voice starts to shake and she cannot finish because, in her eyes, Masato looks cool from every angle and is absolutely flawless. So she silently begs someone to give her credit for at least managing to call him lanky, since she was desperately trying to find even one flaw in him. She never meant to insult him and is only overwhelmed with embarrassment now, apologizing in her mind while calling herself a pathetic adult. Masato tells her that he knows he is lanky, then holds her hand to steady her and asks her to come again. With that, she instantly understands that she likes him. The problem is that as long as he works here, he will entertain any woman who requests him, and she hates even imagining that. She does not want any other woman sitting beside him. So, in a soft voice, she tells him he is not allowed to take anyone else's request. Masato accepts and tells her that he only works on Fridays, so she can request him every Friday. She thinks that is unfair because if he says something like that, she will have no choice but to come every week. Not that she truly minds, since even Fridays do not feel like enough when she wants to be with him more. Suddenly, Maki hugs her from behind, asking what they were flirting about and whether Sarah was taking advantage of her while Maki was the one paying. Before Sarah can answer, Maki puts on a cute expression and says in a playful voice that Sarah cannot do that, which irritates Sarah enough to tell her to erase it from her memory. Maki then says she got to see something entertaining and suggests they check out another place. Sarah is annoyed, since now she cannot even tease Maki about what happened earlier. Putting that aside, her life has started to feel exciting again, and she believes that is thanks to both Masato and Maki. After spending a little more time together, they say goodbye and agree to meet again on Monday. Later, after staying out past midnight, Sarah checks the schedule for the last train. Then, from the corner of her eye, she notices Masato walking home in normal clothes. Even though she knows she should not do it and that it technically counts as a crime, she starts following him. He senses something and quickly turns around, but he does not see Sarah because she hides behind a pole. Thinking it was only his imagination, he keeps walking, while Sarah lets out a relieved breath. She already knew she was a filthy woman, but not to this extent, and the thought alone makes her feel disgusted with herself. Even so, she follows him all the way to his apartment complex, stands in front of his door, and learns his full name. She writes down the address, trying to convince herself she will never use it for anything. But then she questions why she is writing it down in the first place and wonders what is wrong with her. Through the bathroom window, she hears the shower running and starts to giggle. Leaning against the wall, she savors the thought that he is taking a shower just beyond one thin barrier. As she realizes how completely broken she has become and how impossible this feeling is to stop, a recording screen appears on her phone. A few days later, Aika tells Masato that a package from the facility has arrived, and he thanks her. When he opens it and begins unpacking, he notices several items that are exactly like the ones he owned in his original world. Among them, however, are things he does not recognize. In his previous world, he had lived in a foster care facility, and apparently the Masato of this world had lived in one as well, making him wonder whether the two of them somehow switched places. Aika assures him that no matter what kind of past he carries, she has already decided to look after him. Still, she tells him that if he ever wants to return to the facility, he only needs to say so. After a short silence, Masato says he does not want that because he is truly grateful for everything she has done. He tells her to look forward to the future, promising that once he graduates, he will repay her. In response, she pats him on the head and tells him to enjoy his campus life for now, leaving the rest for when the time comes. This makes Masato wonder if having parents feel something like this, and he hopes the original Masato of this world also met someone like Aika. Meanwhile, Kumi checks her reflection in a shop window. Her skincare is finished, and she believes she currently looks like the cutest version of herself. Just then, Masato calls out to her, startling her, since today is their movie date. He apologizes for surprising her and says her outfit looks cute, instantly lifting her mood. She suggests they go clothes shopping since there is still time before the movie and asks if he minds. He says he does not mind and jokingly asks if she can choose something cool for him. Kumi takes it seriously, determined to find clothes that will make him look even cooler. Later, they end up buying far more than expected, mostly for him, and she apologizes for getting carried away. She simply could not help it because everything looked good on him. He reassures her that it is fine and says she helped him a lot since he will not need to buy clothes again for a while. As they sit in the theater, he notices that it is surprisingly empty and wonders if it is because it is a weekday. He then mentions that this is his first time seeing a movie in a theater, while Kumi can only focus on the fact that the two of them are practically alone together. In her mind, she asks whether Masato understands why she chose a romance movie. It is because she hopes he will start noticing her, even if only a little. She wonders how he would react if she tried to hold his hand right now. Swept up in the moment, she tries to reach for him, but fear stops her. She imagines him pulling away with disgust on his face. Even so, she wants to feel his warmth for just a second, so she gently presses her pinky against his hand. She feels how warm he is, and all she can hear is the pounding of her own heart. She wonders whether he would forgive her if he realized what she was doing. After the movie, Masato says it was really good, and Kumi nervously agrees, even though she barely watched any of it. She realizes he never noticed her attempt at all. Masato says it feels refreshing to watch genres he usually avoids and asks her to tell him if she finds another good one sometime. This makes her happy, and she replies that they will, of course, watch all kinds of movies together while hoping that someday she can walk hand in hand with him. The next day, in the university cafeteria, her face is glowing. Yesterday's movie date had been pure bliss for her. Just then, Mizuho calls out to her, and Kumi thanks her for saving a seat. Mizuho tells her it is no problem. Kumi then notices her meal and asks if katsudon is not a little heavy, and Mizuho answers that today is an extremely important day, so she is going in prepared to win. When Kumi asks what she means, Mizuho boldly declares that she is going to win in love, shocking her. Kumi asks if she is planning to confess today, and Mizuho confirms it, saying that this time she actually has a good chance. When Kumi asks if it is Kato from her club, Mizuho nods and explains that their eyes have met many times, so she is sure of it. Kumi asks if she is really confessing based only on that, and Mizuho tells her not to mock her just because things are finally going well. Kumi gives her an awkward grin and says that things are not exactly going well, but Mizuho sees right through her. Mizuho then suggests they go on a double date once she succeeds, which Kumi immediately recognizes as a death flag. Mizuho decides to leave right away, and when Kumi asks if she is serious, she simply replies that destiny does not wait. After Mizuho leaves, Kumi starts to worry, wondering if she will really be okay, since she has been rejected so many times since high school. She knows Kato is friendly enough on the surface, but something about him has always felt off, so she decides to check on them just in case. Later, she searches for the two of them but does not find them in their classroom, so she heads toward the next one. That is when she hears Kato's voice. Following the sound, she peeks out from behind a wall and hears him telling someone that he only talks to first years occasionally because Satsuki told him to. The person he is speaking to is Mizuho, and he asks if she seriously mistook his kindness for something more. Mizuho apologizes, but he harshly cuts her off, telling her never to waste his time again or mention this to anyone, before asking if she understands her place. Kumi is enraged, internally demanding how someone so disgusting and pathetic could dare hurt Mizuho like that. As her anger boils, she regrets not recording the conversation so she could expose his true nature, but Mizuho suddenly notices her and says eavesdropping is not good. Despite what just happened, Mizuho tries to sound cheerful, saying she really thought she had a chance this time, even attempting to joke about it. With a smile, she tells Kumi that sometimes things just do not go smoothly. When she tells Kumi to put that double date on hold for now, Kumi assures her that she will find someone far better than that piece of trash. Mizuho then reminds her that third period is about to begin and tells her to hurry along. As Kumi tries to say something else, Mizuho says she is going outside to cool her head and that Kumi should not keep her boy waiting. Kumi can tell she is forcing it. Mizuho is always so positive and quick to read the room, but all Kumi wants is for her to be truly happy. After they separate, Kumi arrives at the next class and finds that Masato has saved a seat for her. She thanks him, and he says it is nothing, since she is usually the one saving seats, so he is only returning the favor. Seeing such simple kindness, Kumi thinks Masato is like an angel, as if all the goodness in the world was gathered into him and God forgot to give him a single flaw. Compared to him, Kato is nothing but trash in her eyes. She is still furious over what he said to Mizuho, inwardly wondering how someone like him could ever think he had the right to hurt her. Seeing the anger on her face, Masato asks if something happened, saying she seems a little down, and Kumi tells him everything. Masato is troubled by it too, while Kumi knows Mizuho is far too kind to ever expose him herself. Even though Kumi wants to speak up, everyone has been fooled by his act, so it is obvious who they would believe. This leaves Kumi feeling powerless, and Masato agrees that they cannot let it slide. Still, he believes that right now, the only thing they can do is become happier than him and someday tell him that Mizuho found someone far better than a nobody like him. Hearing that, Kumi's anger settles, and she agrees, because what she truly wants is for Mizuho to be happy. When Masato asks whether Mizuho is really that important to her, Kumi answers without hesitation that she is her most important friend. Through music, stories, and everything she has experienced, Mizuho has learned that love is beautiful. She wants to fall in love herself and understand what that sparkling feeling is like. Lately, she has been wondering what love really means and what it means to truly like someone. People describe love in so many different ways, yet she cannot find herself in any of them. She has learned that everyone compromises, settles, and endures things in order to find someone good enough. So she thought she should do the same, because these days, simply having someone agree to date you feels like something to be grateful for. And if no one makes makes a move, they may never get a chance, leaving them vulnerable to exactly what happened to her. She wonders why she has to go through something like this. Strangely, she is not even angry because part of her understands that she never truly wanted to date that guy. She only wanted a boyfriend, nothing more. She tells herself it was her fault and tries to forget about it, shifting her thoughts to Kumi instead. She admits to herself how jealous she is of her and even considers stopping by just to stir things up between Kumi and her boyfriend. With that mindset, she decides to look for a new guy, but then Kato's words echo in her mind. When her cheerful voice refuses to come out, she wonders why, then leans against a wall and slowly sinks down. Unable to hold it in any longer, she lets everything spill out and starts crying. Later, as she walks home, her complexion looks awful, as if she has gotten motion sickness from the train, which she finds ridiculous. She wonders whether she has always been this weak and finds herself pathetic. Untying her hair, she wonders if the nearby shop sells motion sickness medicine. Even though she is a complete mess, she tells herself it is fine because no one is paying attention to her. She then asks herself what she is even doing, hurting this badly just because she was rejected. As she tries to cheer herself up, that scene returns to her mind and tears begin streaming from her eyes. It frustrates her because she already cried so much earlier. As she wipes her eyes, she bumps into someone. She loses her balance and falls while the person curses at her. Although she is hurt, she notices her vision has become blurry, meaning her contact lens has fallen out. Since she can barely see without it, she desperately searches for it while apologizing to everyone passing by. People walk past without helping, and some even laugh while looking down at her as she keeps apologizing. She finds herself crawling on the ground, looking miserable, like a perfect reflection of her current state, and it makes her want to disappear. Just as tears begin to well up again, and she thinks this is the worst day of her life, someone behind her asks if she is okay. That person is Masato, wearing his work uniform and a different hairstyle. After hearing that she lost her contact lens, he crouches down as well and helps her search. She thanks him and tries to figure out who he is, but she cannot see clearly. To her, it feels as if a hero has appeared to save her, so she quickly covers her face, not wanting him to see her looking so awful. She is shocked that anyone would help such a pathetic girl, and she becomes so flustered that all she can hear is her own heartbeat. Strangely, just moments ago, the world had felt unbearable, but now it feels as though the only people in the entire world are the two of them. As they search for the contact lens, someone quietly watches the scene from a distance. Moments later, Masato finally finds the lens and holds it out to her on his handkerchief, telling her to be careful. She thanks him and finds him incredibly polite and gentle, and for some reason, it feels as though he has handed her a piece of jewelry. Masato asks if there is another lens and starts searching again, but she bluntly tells him there is not, explaining that only one fell out, which leaves him confused. She then realizes that if it had only been one lens, she could have dealt with it herself, but she panicked too much and ended up causing trouble. Smiling, Masato asks if everything is okay and says that if it is, then that is good. He then asks whether she will be alright and offers to take her somewhere with a mirror, but she says it is fine, telling him she cannot trouble him any more than she already has, finding him kind despite her own foolishness. Then she notices her heart pounding wildly and wonders why. Masato tells her not to worry about returning the handkerchief and says goodbye, while she tries to stop him but cannot make her voice come out. As he walks away, he looks dazzling to her, especially compared to herself, who looks like a complete mess right now. She curls up on the spot, repeatedly calling herself stupid for not even asking his name. Her heart continues to ring loudly as she remembers how Masato looked as if he were sparkling, and she wonders whether this feeling is what she thinks it is. Her face turns bright red as she brings the handkerchief closer to her face, and then she notices a pen lying on the ground, likely belonging to Masato. A little later, Masato arrives at the Festa bar and apologizes for being late. His coworkers greet him and ask why he is there, since he usually works on weekdays, and he explains that he heard they were short-staffed and came to help. They then comment on his hair, which was styled by his coworker Yusuke, who suddenly hugs him from behind. Yusuke is his senior and had helped him a great deal when he first started working there. Another coworker notices marks on Yusuke's hand and asks if he got hurt, and Yusuke explains that they are from his girlfriend. Although Yusuke is flashy, Masato thinks his mindset is the closest to how things were in his original world, and he respects the fact that Yusuke is not arrogant toward women. When Masato reminds him that he is busy, Yusuke immediately returns to work and tells everyone else to do the same. Later, while Masato is cleaning, he wonders if the girl from earlier is okay, since he had to leave her in a hurry. He also wonders if she had only been crying because she lost her contact lens and whether nothing serious had happened. After finishing the cleaning, he is about to fill out the checklist when he notices that his pen is missing. As he wonders where it could have gone, Yusuke calls out to him and tells him to change, saying he has a request from a regular. Realizing it must be Sarah, Masato finds it unusual for her to come in on a day other than than her usual workday and wonders if she would have requested someone else if he had not been there. With no time to fix his hair, he wonders what Sarah will say and whether she will be harsh. He heads straight to her table and calls out to her, but something feels different. When she looks back, she seems a little gloomy today. Masato wonders if something bad happened at her workplace and decides to cheer her up. He says he is surprised she came in today, remembering that she once said she only visits on Fridays. Ignoring that comment, she mentions seeing him outside the shop, and he explains that he was running an errand. As Sarah keeps staring at him, Masato assumes she is looking at his hair and explains that his coworker styled it, adding that he knows it does not suit him. When she still says nothing, Masato tells her that although he does not know what happened, she can say whatever is on her mind here. He reminds her that, just like always, he truly enjoys listening to her talk. Hearing that, Sarah breaks down and apologizes over and over because she had seen everything. Turns out she was the one watching Masato and Mizuho from a distance. To her, the scene looked like something from a novel, as if a prince and princess were meeting for the very first time. It made her wonder what role she had in that story, whether she was nothing more than a background character hopelessly admiring the prince, the kind of person readers only want to disappear. She refuses to accept that realization, rejecting it completely. She believes it should have been her beside Masato, not that girl. More importantly, that girl's face and hair were a mess and her clothes were dirty, so Sarah convinces herself she still has a chance. But the moment she becomes aware of her own thoughts, she feels disgusted with herself and starts seeing herself as nothing but a background character, jealous of the heroine and standing exactly where she belongs. In her heart, she apologizes to Masato for stalking him. She knows it is a crime and had even thought about deleting the data, but she simply cannot let it go. She wants to ask who that girl was and what he was doing with her, yet she knows she cannot. As she clutches her head, trapped in those thoughts, Masato tells her that he is sure she is not in the wrong, because she is genuinely a good person. Hearing this, Sarah bursts into tears, continuing to apologize both out loud and in her mind for stalking him, for seeing what happened, and for feeling so jealous. She also apologizes silently for not answering him earlier, thinking that if he ever came to hate her, she would not be able to endure it. She then leans in and hugs Masato, catching him completely off guard and leaving him flustered. Still, wanting to help her, he accepts the hug, gently pats her back, and tells her it is all right because he knows she is a kind person. Sarah believes she is the worst for not realizing this sooner, and concludes that everything is Masato's fault. Since he is the one who made her fall for him, he is also the one who made her lose control. Now all that remains inside her is the desire to claim him and ruin him completely. So she apologizes in advance, knowing she is never going to let him go. Meanwhile, at Mizuho's house, she believes the pen belongs to the guy who helped her and finds it strangely familiar. When she notices the branding on it, she realizes it is from her university and wonders if they might attend the same school. The thought makes her giggle as she buries her face in her bed. Her heart pounds and everything around her seems to sparkle, a feeling completely new to her, making her want to see him again. With that thought, she believes the threads of her destiny have finally started to move. A few days after Mizuho was cruelly rejected, she tells Kumi about the boy who helped her when she dropped her contact lens, firmly believing their meeting was fate. She happily says she cannot believe destiny truly exists, while Kumi turns away, wishing she could take back all the worry she had felt. Right after the rejection, Mizuho had been so hurt that it was painful to watch, but later that same day, someone helped her after she lost her contact lens. Ever since then, she has been endlessly insisting that he must be her destined one. Although Kumi has heard the story countless times and is already exhausted by it, she is still relieved to see Mizuho back to her usual self. She then asks if this is the first time Mizuho has ever truly fallen for someone. Mizuho confirms that it is, explaining that ever since childhood, she thought she had experienced many loves, but now she is certain this feeling is what love truly means. As she says this in a soft voice, she blushes in a way that is completely unlike her, shocking Kumi, only for Mizuho to suddenly laugh it off and claim she was joking. Setting that aside, Mizuho holds out the pen and asks Kumi to help her find the guy. After looking at it closely, Kumi notices that it is the same kind of pen given to new students and points out that there must be countless guys at the university with one. She asks if Mizuho at least remembers his face, but Mizuho responds by clicking her tongue. With a determined look, she declares that giving up is when the game truly ends, leaving Kumi wondering why she is suddenly being scolded. Mizuho continues, saying she will recognize him if she sees him again, since she remembers he had slicked back hair, which is a fairly rare hairstyle. Still, she insists that she plans to return his handkerchief and tell him she is the crane he once helped, now here to repay his kindness. Hearing this, Kumi remarks that Mizuho is basically living inside a fairy tale. Just then, Kumi receives a notification. When she checks it, she sees a message from Masato asking her to join him for third period. After reading it and pausing for a moment, she glances at the love-struck Mizuho. Kumi had always kept her friends at a distance because she did not want them falling for Masato, Masato, but seeing Mizuho now, she believes she no longer has to worry about that. More importantly, the fact that Masato has no friends besides her has always made Kumi feel guilty, especially since she knows it is partly her own fault. Gathering her courage, Kumi asks Mizuho if she would be okay going to the next lecture together with her and Masato. Surprised, Mizuho asks if that is really okay, pointing out that Kumi has never even allowed her to meet him before. Kumi replies that since Mizuho has already found her destined person, there is nothing to worry about. Otherwise, she would fall for Masato within 30 seconds of talking to him. Stunned by Kumi's blunt honesty, Mizuho remarks that love really can ruin a person, prompting Kumi to ask if she is making fun of her. Laughing it off, Mizuho admits that she has always wanted to talk to Kumi's boyfriend, only for Kumi to quickly clarify that Masato is not her boyfriend yet. She warns Mizuho not to say anything strange when they meet him, and Mizuho assures her there is nothing to worry about. Still, she advises Kumi to stop hesitating and just confess already, but Kumi immediately shuts her down. Meanwhile, Masato receives Kumi's message accepting his request and asking if she can bring a friend along. He replies that of course she can. Realizing that Kumi is going to introduce him to one of her friends, he feels happy that his social circle might grow. More than that, he is relieved that she has not been neglecting her own friendships for his sake, something he had quietly been worried about. Later, when Masato arrives at the classroom, Kumi calls out to him. As he greets her good morning, he notices a girl sitting beside her. Kumi introduces her as her best friend, Tanasaki Mizuho. Masato is taken aback, finding Mizuho cute in a completely different way from Kumi, which briefly makes him wonder if this world is filled with nothing but beautiful girls. Kumi then turns to Mizuho and introduces Masato as her friend. Masato greets her, saying he has heard a lot about her from Kumi. For some reason, Mizuho does not answer, and an awkward silence settles over them. Masato panics internally, wondering if he said something wrong, acted too familiar, or sounded creepy. Kumi notices and calls Mizuho's name, snapping her back to reality. Mizuho quickly apologizes and tells Masato that she has also heard a lot about him from Kumi, which puts him slightly at ease. Mizuho then studies Masato up close and casually remarks that he is pretty handsome, causing Kumi to immediately tell her to stop. Kumi scolds her and reminds her of what she said earlier, while Masato, watching their exchange, thinks Mizuho seems quite lively. Finally, Mizuho properly introduces herself. She shakes Masato's hand, gives a small bow, and greets him politely. As Masato holds her hand, he notices how small it is. Kumi is petite too, but Mizuho is even smaller, making him briefly worry that she might somehow break. Later, as class ends, Mizuho comments on how unexpected the pop quiz was, and Masato agrees, though he admits he avoided trouble thanks to Kumi lending him her notes. While checking her bag, Kumi suddenly realizes she left something behind in the classroom, so she tells the two of them to go ahead while she goes back to get it. Masato says it is fine since he is not in a hurry and offers to wait, taking Kumi's bag to hold on to for her. Kumi thanks him and apologizes, while Masato turns to Mizuho and asks if she is all right with waiting. Mizuho says she does not mind, and once Kumi leaves, the two decide to sit on a nearby bench until she returns. Mizuho casually remarks that Masato is very kind. He asks if waiting for someone is not normal, but Mizuho shakes her head and says it is more than that. She can tell his kindness comes from deep within his heart. She then stands up and tells Masato there is something she needs to say. Gripping the brim of her cap as though gathering her courage, she brightly explains that she wants his help finding her destined partner. She admits she cannot explain everything in detail, but says her destined partner is a first-year student at the university, and she hopes Masato can help her find him. Masato nervously agrees and asks for the boy's name, only to be shocked when Mizuho bluntly says she does not know it. He asks if she at least knows his department or any defining features, but Mizuho admits she is not even completely sure he is a first year, nor does she know his department. The only thing she remembers is that he had slicked back hair and was about Masato's height. Hearing that, Masato falls silent in thought. Earlier, when Mizuho first met him, she felt as if she had heard his voice somewhere before, and as she realizes where that thought is going, she quickly stops herself. Masato is Kumi's crush, so she should not even entertain that possibility. Instead, she asks if he could use his connections to let her know if he finds someone who matches the description. When he does not answer immediately, she wonders if she has asked too much, but Masato then admits that he would like to help, although he does not really have any friends. Mizuho is genuinely surprised and wonders if it is because he started university late, but even so, he promises to let her know if he happens to meet anyone who fits her description. Overjoyed, Mizuho thanks him, then briefly worries that she may have made him feel bad. Just then, Kumi returns, and Mizuho immediately tells her that Masato has agreed to help search for her destined one. Although Masato admits he is not confident because he does not know many people, she keeps insisting with obvious excitement. Mizuho finds Masato exactly as Kumi described him, kind, funny, and genuinely good. She wonders if the three of them can keep spending time time together like this, feeling that her life may become even more enjoyable from now on. Eventually, Kumi parts ways with them when her train arrives, waving goodbye. As Masato and Mizuho continue walking, Mizuho realizes they are heading down the same street, which makes her feel a little guilty toward Kumi. At the same time, she sees it as a good chance to ask about their relationship, so she brings it. Masato assures her there is nothing suspicious between them and that they are only friends. Mizuho finds that hard to believe, pointing out that they are always together. He explains that Kumi was incredibly kind to him when he needed it most, and because of that, he does not want to betray her kindness. Mizuho is stunned, wondering if he truly means it, but she feels relieved because she can tell he is being sincere. Still, noticing how oblivious he seems to Kumi's feelings, she jokingly calls him a heartbreaker while silently wishing Kumi good luck. Suddenly, her eyes widen when she spots someone familiar. She quickly hides behind Masato, not wanting to be seen. It turns out to be Kato, the boy who rejected her, and from the way he is talking to the girl beside him, it seems he told her about the confession. He tells the girl, Satsuki, that because she told him to talk to first years more often, a delusional girl like Mizuho ended up confessing to him. Mizuho is so embarrassed she feels like she could die. Her body starts trembling as she quietly suggests to Masato that they should leave. Kato notices her and leans closer, mocking her by calling her an ugly burden who cannot survive unless she clings to men. The rejection and humiliation hit her so hard that she begins shaking, her voice refusing to come out. More than anything, she does not want Masato to see her like this, afraid he will be disappointed in her. Tears begin to gather in her eyes as she desperately tries not to cry or look pathetic the way she did before. Masato steps forward and says that although he does not know the full situation, there is one thing he does know, and he tells Kato to take it back. When Kato asks who he is, Masato introduces himself as Mizuho's friend. Kato smirks, saying he knew no one would ever date someone as ugly as her. Masato fires back loudly that Mizuho is not ugly. She is cute. His words completely catch her off guard. As Kato stands there stunned, Masato continues, saying that calling her ugly is simply wrong because she is clearly cute, both in personality and appearance. Kato scoffs and says that Mizuho confessed to him just a few days ago, which he believes places him above her. Masato immediately challenges that logic, asking how being confessed to somehow makes someone superior to the person confessing. As Kato tries to justify himself, Masato bluntly tells him he despises that kind of attitude towards someone who showed genuine feelings. While they argue, Mizuho wants Masato to stop, feeling that there is no reason for him to get angry over someone like her. Yet for some reason, she cannot speak, and her face feels unbearably hot. Kato then sneers, asking if Masato would actually date an ugly girl like her. Masato snaps back that he would never compare Mizuho to someone like Kato, who only uses others to prove his own worth. Irritated, Kato declares that he is done and tells Satsuki they are leaving. After they walk away, Mizuho peeks out from behind Masato. Masato looks nervous and apologizes, saying it seems he made things more difficult for her and only realized it too late. Mizuho tells him she does not care about that, since things had always been difficult for her anyway, and instead feels worse for dragging him into it. Masato admits he could not stop himself from stepping in, and as an apology, he offers to buy her something to drink. In her mind, Mizuho keeps telling him to stop. He is far too kind, and she already has someone she has chosen. More importantly, Masato is Kumi's crush, and that thought makes guilt ache in her chest, knowing Kumi cannot even say her feelings out loud. Mizuho forces herself to laugh cheerfully and thanks him, explaining that she confessed and was rejected, and that if she had known Kato was this kind of person, she never would have confessed. Masato sees right through her forced smile and tells her she does not need to pretend when she is hurt. He says no one could hear words like that and walk away unharmed. Mizuho is visibly caught off guard, and Masato tells her to wait while he goes to buy her a drink. Once he leaves, Mizuho sits down against the wall and wonders if she has always been this easy to sway. She is deeply hurt, and she knows exactly what this feeling is, but she chooses to hold it back. She already has someone she believes is her destined one, and Masato belongs to Kumi. Yet with every passing second, enduring it becomes harder and harder. Quietly, she apologizes to Kumi, realizing that the feeling swelling inside her chest is love. Mizuho discovers that liking someone is far more painful than she ever imagined. The next day is Friday, the day Yuka has been looking forward to more than anything lately. While cleaning the basketballs, she hopes she will get to play with Masato again today. As she thinks about what happened last time, one of her friends shouts in frustration, asking why only the first years have to do this kind of work. She means cleaning the balls, though Yuka does not mind since she gets to see Masato after school. Noticing her excited smile, her friend asks where she goes every Friday, catching Yuka off guard. Seeing her reaction, the friend quickly understands and teasingly asks if it is a boy. Yuka immediately tries to deny it, but that only makes her friend more certain, prompting her to ask if Yuka has a boyfriend. Yuka denies that too, since she and Masato do not have that kind of relationship and he is only teaching her basketball. But just imagining him as her boyfriend makes her blush and smile from ear to ear. This only confirms her friend's suspicions further, and they decide to follow her today, which Yuka strongly tells them not to do. She is afraid that if they see Masato, they will keep coming, and because he is so kind, he will end up teaching them too. She absolutely does not want that, because this time is supposed to belong only to the two of them. Just then, their seniors arrive, and one of them asks if they are having fun. She is Yuka's assigned mentor, but Yuka does not like her because she finds her intimidating. The senior then asks Yuka if she has a boyfriend. Yuka quickly insists it is a misunderstanding, but Meru mocks her, saying the boy is probably ugly anyway. Just as she says that, Meru's boyfriend arrives, and she immediately wraps herself around his arm. That senior's name is Meru, and she is known for having a nasty personality, prompting Yuka's friend to ask if she is alright. Yuka can handle being teased, but she absolutely cannot tolerate Meru insulting Masato. Later, Yuka gets home and quickly changes into her basketball clothes, excited to see Masato, because no matter how bad her day gets, everything disappears the moment she meets him. Just as she is about to leave, she notices the towel Masato gave her and remembers that she needs to return it. Holding it in her hand, she thinks it still carries a faint trace of his scent and brings it closer to her face to smell it. The instant she does, her whole body trembles and a soft moan escapes her. She realizes this is bad, because even though the towel has been washed, she can still smell him on it. Still, she tries to justify herself, thinking no one can blame her since it has been cleaned. Just as she is about to take another sniff, her mother suddenly appears behind her and asks what she is doing, startling her. Embarrassed, Yuka tells her mother not to barge in like that, but her mother reminds her that Yuka was the one who asked her to prepare her water bottle. Even so, Yuka feels slightly annoyed. She takes the bottle and quickly leaves, while her mother wonders if she checked the weather forecast today. Moments later, she arrives at the basketball court, and Masato is indeed there. As soon as he notices her, she boldly declares that today she will finally take the spot from him, all while thinking about how cool he looks. As he sets her bag down, she notices that he calls her Yuka-chan, though she actually prefers it when he says her name without honorifics. She comes up with an excuse, telling him that since they are rivals, he does not need to hold back and can simply call her Yuka. At the end, she meekly adds please, realizing she made it sound far too dramatic. However, Masato bursts out laughing and says he agrees. With that, he calls her Yuka and teasingly announces that he will claim the spot again today, which makes her extremely happy. She suggests they begin right away, but Masato reminds her of what happened last week and says he will not play against her unless she warms up properly. Yuka agrees, finding him cute even when he acts cheeky. Later, after finishing their warm-ups, they begin playing basketball. Yuka manages to steal the ball from Masato, slip past him, and take a shot at the hoop, and the ball goes in. The success fills her with joy, while Masato is impressed by how much she has improved and says that at this pace, she might really take the spot from him. Being praised by him makes her even happier, and she promises that she will claim it back. Just as she suggests switching to defense, heavy rain suddenly begins pouring down. The two quickly run for shelter beneath a covered seating area. Masato then asks Yuka if she has a towel, and she says she does, but her eyes widen in shock when she notices that Masato's soaked t-shirt has become see-through, and the sight is far too stimulating for her. Looking at how hard the rain is falling, Masato realizes there is no way they can keep playing like this, but when Yuka does not answer, he calls out to her. Yuka is too flustered to respond, her breathing growing uneven as she covers half her face with the towel. She starts worrying that if Masato realizes she is looking at him with impure thoughts, he will be disgusted and distance himself from her. She absolutely cannot let that happen. The embarrassment alone would probably kill her. Determined, she decides to keep looking away and resist the temptation, but just then, Masato apologizes and places his hand against her neck. He is checking whether she has a fever and asks if she feels alright. Still, she cannot answer. All she can think about is how close he is, completely soaked and far too attractive. Thinking she might be unwell, he wraps his shirt around her. He apologizes, saying it is all he has, but it is better than nothing, and suggests they wait until the rain lets up. As they wait, Yuka's heart refuses to calm down, with Masato standing there in soaked clothes and her own body wrapped in his shirt. It makes her feel as though his presence is spreading through her entire body. Masato then asks her to turn around for a moment, and she immediately obeys without question. But then she hears water splashing onto the ground, and the sound slowly makes her realize why he asked her to face away. Her suspicion is confirmed when Masato says to himself that he brought a spare shirt. In other words, he has taken off his t-shirt. Realizing this, Yuka wonders if she will see Masato half-naked if she turns around now. As she debates it in her mind and tries to justify herself, she slowly turns and catches sight of Masato's back. The moment she sees it, she completely loses her composure and starts moving toward him, wondering whether she can really go all the way. She stops directly behind him, her thoughts spiraling out of control. Would anyone really blame blame her if she hugged him from behind and pressed her cheek against him? After all, no one is watching. Just as she finally gathers the courage to do it, Masato, who has just found his spare shirt, hears a dull thud. When he turns around, he is shocked to find Yuka collapsed on the ground, her face bright red with blood running from her nose. As her consciousness slips away, Yuka silently tells her mother that, in the end, she was still a coward. The next day, Yuka's friends congratulate her on being chosen for the starting lineup in the official match, and she thanks them. Although she is happy, she knows she has to produce real results, especially for the people who did not even make it onto the bench. Just as they are about to leave, Yuka's senior, Meru, arrives with her friends and claims the floor was not cleaned properly, ordering them to do it again. She asks whether they plan to take responsibility if someone from the volleyball team, which is supposed to use the gym that afternoon, gets hurt. Even though they had cleaned it properly, Meru still makes them redo it. Yuka realizes this is harassment, but chooses to endure it and walks past Meru, only for Meru to suddenly call her name. Meru then plants her foot against the wall behind Yuka in a threatening way and tells her not to let being selected go to her head. She adds that Yuka only made the lineup because the coach favors her and warns her not to get the wrong idea. Yuka meekly agrees. Yuka wonders why Meru is so determined to tear her down, especially when Meru was never even originally a bench player. With that thought, Yuka gives a small bow and asks to be excused. As she leaves, Meru looks visibly irritated. Yuka thinks that if seeing a younger student in the lineup bothers Meru so much, she could simply train harder and beat them. But Meru and the others do not even practice, making Yuka feel that clubs like this are complicated. Moments later, she arrives at the basketball court and, seeing it empty, remembers that today is Sunday. That is why Masato is not there. She still cannot shake the unpleasant feeling Meru left behind, so she decides to practice a little before going home. As she starts playing, she thinks about how much she has improved by training with Masato and believes that she made the lineup thanks to him. With that in mind, she decides to try copying Masato's moves. Because she likes him so much, she can picture him clearly in her head again and again. She begins imitating him, performing a smooth crossover before cutting forward with a drive. After a roll turn, she shoots the ball toward the hoop, but it clips the rim and bounces out. Yuka finds that final fadeaway incredibly hard to land. To her, that difficulty only proves how amazing Masato is, and with that thought, she decides to end her training for the day. But just as she is packing up to leave, Meru and the other seniors enter the basketball court. Meru and her friends say they are not finished practicing yet, then pretend to only just notice Yuka there, acting surprised. Their arrival at this hour leaves Yuka confused, and she wonders why they are here. But judging from the way they are acting, she is certain they followed her. As she politely greets them, they begin praising her mockingly. Meru remarks that maybe if they practice here too, they will become good as well, which angers Yuka, though she tries to keep herself calm. Yuka decides to leave and hand the court over to them, but just as she starts walking away, Meru grabs her hand and stops her. She says Yuka is being too cold, then, with a sinister grin, suggests they practice together, something Yuka cannot refuse. A little later, as the training continues, Meru mocks Yuka, asking if she is already exhausted and whether she really thinks she will survive an official match like this. Yuka is completely worn out, panting heavily as she wonders how much time has passed, having lost all track of it. The upperclassmen are rotating in turns, while Yuka is the only one being forced to train non-stop. Meru then asks if Yuka wants to play 2-on-2, saying she needs to experience actual match-style play as well. But Yuka is too exhausted to answer and only wants a drink of water. Even without her response, they start the match anyway. Although it is supposed to be 2-on-2, her partner does not move at all, making Yuka realize their true intention was never to train with her in the first place. Even knowing that, she keeps playing, but suddenly her legs refuse to move. Normally, getting past two players would be easy for her, but she is far too exhausted now. Noticing this, Meru asks if that is all she has, saying that if so, she should just withdraw from the lineup. She then tells Yuka to think about how Ayako feels now that she can no longer play. At those words, Yuka notices a boy standing at the edge of the court, Ayako's boyfriend. After the bench lineup was announced, Ayako, who had been replaced by Yuka, came to congratulate her and told her to do her best, even though Yuka had taken her spot. That memory is one of the reasons Yuka decided to work so hard. Just when she is too exhausted to move, Meru deliberately drives her shoulder into Yuka, knocking her to the ground. Pain shoots through her entire body, making it difficult to breathe. She cannot help wondering why she has to suffer like this when all she wants is to play basketball. Even seeing the terrible state she is in, Meru coldly tells her to get up, saying the game is not over and asking if she does not even know the rules. Yuka cannot stand. She has no strength left, but she still does not want to lose, especially not to people like them. Just as Yuka is about to break down in tears, a sarcastic voice suddenly cuts through the air, remarking that everyone seems to be having a great time. The voice belongs to Masato, and his sudden appearance leaves her stunned. Earlier that morning, on his day off, he had been sleeping at home when he received a message from Kumi about her softball club, followed followed by messages from Sarah and Yuka. He had thought Yuka was incredibly hardworking for practicing so early, and lately, simply watching her had made him feel oddly protective, making him wonder if this was what having a little sister felt like. At the same time, he realized that if she kept improving at this pace, she might soon surpass him, so he decided he should train too. When he arrived at the court and saw her with several others, he first assumed she was practicing with friends, but something about the way they were playing felt wrong. He hesitated, thinking he might be misunderstanding the situation, but he quickly realized that hesitation had been a mistake. Back in the present, Meru demands to know who he is, pointing out that they are in the middle of club practice. Masato coldly fires back, asking if ganging up on one person until she collapses and laughing about it is what club activities look like now. Yuka is stunned, because this is the first time she has ever seen him angry. Masato then turns to her, hands her a water bottle from his bag, and apologizes for being late. Despite her exhaustion and pain, her body reacts with relief and happiness simply because he is there. He then asks Meru and the others what they are trying to accomplish by bullying Yuka, but Meru denies it, claiming they were only testing whether she deserves to be a starter. Masato asks if they will stop if Yuka proves her ability, and Meru lies, saying that was their intention from the beginning and that everything happened because Yuka is not good enough. This infuriates Yuka, because they only resorted to this after failing to beat her fairly. Masato then asks Yuka if she can move after a short rest, though she looks confused. He gently pats her head and suggests that the two of them show everyone just how strong she really is. She agrees without hesitation, and Masato proposes that if Yuka defeats them, the issue will be settled. He suggests that he and Yuka team up against all four of them, an idea Meru initially mocks as absurd. Masato calmly points out the obvious height difference between himself and the others, making Meru snap that he is underestimating them. He then sets the condition that if they win, Meru must acknowledge Yuka as a rightful starter and stop complaining. Meru accepts, countering that if Yuka loses, she has to step down from the starting lineup. Although Yuka does not want to give up her place, she believes in Masato and agrees, fully determined not to lose. The match begins with Yuka and Masato on offense, and just as she expected, the two strongest players immediately move to block Masato. But they are no match for him, as he slips past them effortlessly, leaving Meru shouting at them not to let some random guy break through so easily. As Yuka watches in awe, reminded once again that Masato is on a completely different level, he gives her a subtle nod. Understanding the signal, she quickly moves into position. When Meru tries to stop him, Masato passes the ball to Yuka. Without hesitation, she shoots, and the ball swishes cleanly through the hoop, giving them the first 2 points of the game and leaving Meru furious. Although Yuka knows she should not be enjoying herself while still exhausted, she cannot help feeling thrilled. With renewed determination, she and Masato push forward to score again, while Meru grows more and more desperate to stop them. From playing with Masato, Yuka knows that if he had taken the shot himself, scoring from that distance would have been effortless. Yet he chose to pass the ball to her. Even so, she refuses to let him carry her and is determined to prove that every bit of effort she has made until now was not wasted. With that thought in mind, she drives forward and scores again, stunning Meru. Furious, Meru yells at Ayako's boyfriend, Shisuke, demanding that he actually move and asking whether he does not care that Ayako may never get her starting position back. She orders him to forget about Masato and focus on Yuka instead, since she is the one taking the shots. Masato praises Yuka, telling her it was a great shot, and she quickly replies that his pass was just as good. He then tells her he believes she can break through all of them even without his instructions, telling her to take the ball next time and try to push past them herself while he moves into position to receive a pass if needed. Yuka eagerly agrees, because simply knowing that Masato trusts her gives her the strength to try 1,000 times harder. As planned, she prepares to break through the three girls, but Meru suddenly calls out, demanding to know what Masato is to her. With a blush on her face and a gentle smile, Yuka answers that he is someone precious to her. Her answer clearly irritates Meru, who clicks her tongue in frustration. Because Masato is the person she treasures most, Yuka becomes even more determined to meet his expectations. She charges toward the hoop, and although one girl moves to block her, Yuka slips past with a quick between-the-legs dribble and crossover. The second girl tries to stop her too, but Yuka gets past her just as easily. Just as she prepares to shoot, Meru suddenly steps in front of her. Yuka immediately realizes the position is bad and that her shot will probably be blocked at this rate. However, she remembers how Masato handles situations like this, and copying his move, she releases the ball toward the hoop. It turns out that Masato had only mastered that move when he was in high school. After the match ends, Shisuke and the three girls begin arguing, and it seems he had been telling them to stop bullying Yuka. A short while later, the three girls approach and apologize to her, leaving Yuka confused. When she quietly asks Masato if he knows anything about it, he claims he does not, but she is certain he must have said something to Shisuke behind the scenes for her sake. Masato then praises her again, saying her final shot was incredible, and she thanks him with a bright slight smile. Realizing she only made that shot because she had carefully watched and learned from him, she bows deeply and thanks him more sincerely for helping her today. He brushes it off, saying it was nothing, and apologizes instead for being late. Confused, she asks what he means. Masato explains that he had arrived earlier, but since he thought she was only practicing with her teammates, he chose not to interfere until he saw her get shoved to the ground. He says that if he had understood the situation sooner, she might not have gotten hurt. Hearing that, Yuka nearly breaks into tears at just how deeply kind Masato is. While he admits that he is truly glad he gets to play basketball with her, he tells her she has real talent and will surpass him before long, but she shakes her head and says that is not what matters. She is simply happy that she can play basketball with him. As she says this, Masato suddenly notices something and tells her to wait for a moment. He gently takes her hand and steps closer, causing Yuka to panic immediately, her heart racing as she wonders whether he is about to kiss her. She feels that today's atmosphere is different, almost as if fate is guiding the moment, and she cannot help thinking this might be the perfect chance. Still, she feels shy about being outside. More importantly, the sun is still up, and she wonders if she should simply close her eyes. Silently calling out to her mother and father, she gently shuts her eyes, thinking that today she is giving her first time to someone special. With her eyes squeezed tightly shut, she waits, only to realize that Masato has merely leaned in to place a bandage over her injury. He apologizes for not noticing sooner that she was hurt, leaving Yuka completely stunned. Overwhelmed, she suddenly wraps her arms around him, catching him off guard as he awkwardly asks what is wrong. Even though it was not the kiss she had imagined, she is still deeply happy that he cares so much. Even if he thinks she is strange for hugging him so suddenly, she wants to pour all of her feelings into that embrace. Masato gently pats her head and tells her she did an incredible job today, adding that she looked really cool out there. His words make her face turn bright red, and in that instant, she fully realizes that she loves him. From that moment on, it feels as though she can see no one but Masato, only him, and as if confirming her own heart, she tightens her arms around him just a little more. Later that night, after freshening up, Masato goes straight to bed, but just as he gets comfortable in his futon, he remembers that he should reply to some messages before sleeping. When he checks his phone, he sees a message from Yuka thanking him for today, while Sarah has also sent him a thoughtful message. Among them, however, Mizuho has not seemed very energetic lately, making him hope she is all right. Thinking about it now, most of the people he has grown close to since coming to this world are women. Although he gets along with some male seniors at work, they are not exactly people he keeps in regular contact with. Just then, he notices a message from Kumi asking about his plans for tomorrow. He replies that he has tutoring tomorrow, which confuses her, and she asks if the student is a girl, though he does not notice the implication. After replying to all the messages, he decides to sleep. As he closes his eyes, he reflects that 2 months have already passed since he arrived in this world, and he finds it surprising that things have somehow worked out. Although Aika warned him about other women, aside from the occasional pushy flirt, he does not feel that anything has truly become a problem. If anything, every woman he has gotten to know has been a good person. Because of that, he believes he should be able to live a normal life from now on. Meanwhile, Kumi is still waiting for his answer about whether his tutoring student is a girl. She is genuinely worried, because if the student is a boy, then there is no issue, but if it is a girl, that changes everything. Ever since falling for Masato, she has been extremely happy, but it has also created new worries for her, since there are so many girls around him. Worse still, Masato has no awareness of his own charm. Another thing troubling her is what kind of job he works on Fridays, since he refuses to tell her. Even so, she is determined not to back down, no matter who her rival may be. Just as she is thinking this, her phone rings with a message, and she instantly jumps up from her bed, convinced it must be from Masato. Before checking it, she raises the phone above her head and prays that the student is a boy, or at least a child, like an elementary schooler. After praying, she braces herself to read the message, thinking that even a high school girl would be a serious problem. To her shock, Masato's message says that he is tutoring a second-year high school student. The next day, Masato wakes up and receives a notification that his earnings have been deposited, which he feels is far too much for ordinary part-time work. This is all thanks to Aika, who has not only covered some of his living expenses, but also introduced him to 2 part-time jobs. The first is, of course, the boys' bar, which he could not tell Kumi about when she asked because it is rather difficult to explain. The other is his private tutoring job every Saturday, which is easier to mention, so he told Kumi about it the day before. Just as he is thinking about her, she calls him, making him wonder why she is contacting him so early in the morning. He answers with a hello, but shudders when she says his name in a cold voice. Without any small talk, she asks whether he is tutoring a girl and whether he is going to that girl's house again today. Masato is completely confused, wondering why she sounds so emotionless and whether he did something wrong. Later, after speaking with her, he heads toward his student's house and admits along the way that he has no idea what triggers Kumi's switches. Normally, Kumi is sweet and cute, cute, but when something flips that switch inside her, she becomes frightening. Because of this, Masato finds girls seriously difficult to understand, and although he once thought he was good at talking to them, he now realizes that may not be true. He wonders if growing up with a female childhood friend is what allowed him to talk to girls normally without feeling awkward. He even remembers dating a girl who once confessed to him, but things ended badly when she concluded that he was simply kind to everyone. She apologized for misunderstanding his intentions and ended the relationship. Masato admits that he handled it poorly at the time, but as someone raised in an orphanage and taught that being kind to others was simply the natural thing to do, her words hit him extremely hard. He admits that he treated her no differently from the other girls and simply never felt the urge to act in a special way only toward her. Being kind to others has been deeply engraved into him, and thinking about it now, he realizes he probably cannot change that anymore. While turning all of this over in his mind, he finally arrives outside his student's house and decides it is time to shift his focus. When he rings the doorbell and someone answers, he looks around the house and is struck by how luxurious it is. A woman opens the door, greets him politely, and tells him that her daughter Shirori is in her room before asking him to take care of her, a request he readily accepts. It has been about a month since he started this tutoring job, which Aika introduced to him, teaching the daughter of one of her acquaintances. He knocks on the door, says it is Masato, and asks if he can come in. Shirori nervously says yes. With that, she opens the door and lets him inside. This girl is Shinomiya Shirori, a second-year high school student. He greets her, and when she greets him back, he notices that she is not wearing her school uniform today. She nervously explains that wearing her uniform on a day off felt kinda strange, so she decided not to. Hearing this, Masato says that since he has only ever seen her in uniform, this look feels fresh, and it suits her well. Clearly flustered by the comment, she pauses for a moment before thanking him and adding that he looks cool too. Masato teasingly replies that compliments will not make him assign less homework. As they prepare to study, Masato thinks she seems very demure, giving off the perfect proper rich girl impression. Then he notices a book on her table and asks what she was reading today. She picks it up and tells him it is a novel by Mr. Takasaka. Masato immediately recognizes it and wonders aloud what kind of life the author must have lived to write an opening like that. Shirori says nothing at first, which confuses him, and after a short pause, she nervously agrees. Her awkward reaction makes him wonder if she realized his comment was shallow and made up on the spot. Because of that, he starts thinking that for a literary girl like her, talking with him might feel somewhat unsatisfying. With that thought, he begins tutoring Shirori, while she steals glances at him, thinking that he looks wonderful again today and still unable to believe that someone like him is actually in her room. She wonders whether someone like her even deserves to be near him because she believes her real self is plain and unfashionable. That is how the people around her generally see her, though she does not particularly mind it. Still, she once thought it might be alright to dream like everyone else at least once, such as wanting a boyfriend in high school. But those hopes and illusions were quickly crushed. The few boys in her classes are monopolized by the top girls, and the leftovers would never make their way to a plain girl like her. That is simply reality. This makes her feel that she does not really need a boyfriend. After all, if a boy is rated even slightly cool, he is suddenly treated as high value. But if he has poor hygiene or is too overweight, she immediately loses interest, and at that point, she believes she is better off not dating anyone at all. More importantly, she does not need them because she has this. These are what people call books for women, and she admits that she loves fantasy novels like these, where the characters have beautiful hearts, the heroes are cool, and there are clear reasons for the heroines to fall in love with them. Beyond that, she finds the boys in these stories genuinely beautiful. Sometimes, while reading them, she can hardly believe such a beautiful world could exist, which makes her look around at her own surroundings. She sighs in disappointment at how the girls around her behave over ordinary guys, leading her to conclude that, in the end, reality is just trash. Later, as she returns home planning to play games that day, her mother tells her to wait. Stopping on the stairs, Shirori listens as her mother asks whether she has made any friends or perhaps gotten herself a boyfriend. Shirori says she has not and asks why she is bringing this up so suddenly. Her mother explains that she should experience romance while she is still in school, especially with fewer boys around these days. Shirori agrees without really listening, since her mother has given her this speech many times before. Her mother can tell she is not paying attention, but sets that aside and asks whether Shiori's college choice is still the same. Shirori confirms that it is. Her mother then says that one of her friends knows someone attending that college and that she is thinking of asking that person to tutor her, which shocks Shirori. Shirori protests that she does not need anything like that, but her mother insists she at least meet them once, since they are coming this Saturday. As Shirori heads toward her room, she thinks her mother is being incredibly pushy. She believes she can study on her own, since she has no friends and therefore all the time in the world. On top of that, she finds talking to people a real pain, so she plans to make up an excuse and send the tutor away. The following Saturday, Shirori comes home from school and lies on her bed reading, thinking the protagonist is incredibly strong and unbelievably kind. But she reminds herself that of course he is perfect because he is fictional, and she believes someone like that could never exist in real life. Just as she thinks this, her mother tells her the tutor has arrived, and Shirori answers that she is coming. She suddenly notices that she is still wearing her school uniform, but decides it does not matter since she plans to send the tutor home anyway. As she opens the door, thinking that being tutored right after morning classes is such a hassle, the tutor greets her. That person is none other than Masato, and the moment she sees him, she freezes as her face turns red. Her mother then introduces Masato, explaining that he is the boy she asked to tutor Shirori, and teasingly asks whether he is not handsome. Completely stunned, Shirori blurts out a confused "Wa," which Masato repeats back in equal confusion. She then hurriedly pushes both him and her mother out of the room, asking them to wait outside for a moment. Once the door is shut, she drops to her knees in embarrassment, flustered that no one told her the tutor would be a guy. From outside the room, her mother asks what is wrong with her, while Shirori becomes convinced that her mother hid it from her on purpose. In her mind, she calls her mother an evil witch and even considers telling her father that her mother goes to boys' bars. Setting that aside, the bigger problem is that her room is a disaster, with clothes left out and her games still lying around. Even worse, her shelf is packed with books she absolutely cannot let him see, because they are lewd erotic novels. Since she cannot allow him to notice any of them, she decides to cover the shelf with a sheet for now. After dealing with that, she uses the mirror to fix her appearance while thinking that maybe this guy is actually kind of handsome. Once everything is ready, she opens the door and apologizes for making him wait. As Masato enters, he apologizes too, saying the message he sent before coming may not have gone through. Shirori says it is fine and assures him that her mother is really the one at fault. When he thanks her for offering him a seat, she becomes deeply flustered, unsure what she is supposed to do now that a good-looking guy is suddenly in her room. She tries to calm herself by reminding herself that there is no way something this good could actually happen to her in real life. With that in mind, she wonders if the trade-off is that he must have a terrible personality or some other flaw. Masato then suggests that they simply talk for today, and afterward, she can decide whether she wants to hire him as her tutor. She agrees but feels frustrated because her voice comes out tiny, and with the situation this overwhelming, there is no way she can speak the way she normally does. Masato tells her that since this was so sudden for her, giving him an answer directly might be awkward, so she can just tell her mother later instead. His behavior leaves her deeply confused, because not only is he handsome, he is also far too considerate. She had expected him to say something like she should be grateful, but he says nothing of the sort. Even so, she tells herself not to be fooled, wondering if he is only acting nice so he can get the tutoring job. Masato then asks Shirori why she wants to attend his university, and she answers that the facilities are nice and the library is large. Hearing this, Masato smiles and excitedly asks if she loves books. Flustered, she silently begs him to stop flashing that sparkling smile while he asks what kind of books she likes. The question catches her completely off guard because she had not thought that far ahead, and she obviously cannot tell him she loves cheesy heroine romance stories, certain he would find that creepy. Searching for a safe answer, she says she likes literary fiction. Masato says that is impressive, especially since he cannot really bring himself to read such formal writing. He adds that he once tried reading a few pulp titles, but realized they were not really for him. Hearing his honest response, she silently apologizes because she does not actually read that kind of literature either. Putting that aside, she realizes the situation is getting dangerous because he has not slipped up even once, and she refuses to believe someone this perfect could truly exist. So she comes up with an idea, thinking that if a plain potato girl like her says something rude, he is bound to show his true colors. With that in mind, she tells Masato that he is free to turn her down, since he probably would not want to tutor a plain girl like her and would rather teach someone prettier. She adds that he must have received plenty of other offers anyway. Even Shirori knows she is being petty and unpleasant, and since everyone dislikes high-maintenance women, she hopes this comment will finally make him reveal his true nature. However, Masato simply says that none of that matters. If she is working hard to get into his university, then no matter what kind of girl she is, he will do everything he can to help her. He adds that, aside from all of that, he actually thinks she is a truly wonderful person and admits that when he first saw her earlier, he thought she was very beautiful. Completely stunned by his answer, Shirori begins to believe that maybe a hero from a story has somehow crossed dimensions just to meet her. Later that night, Shirori is thrilled by the thought that someone like Masato will be coming to her room every week from now on. More importantly, he called her pretty, making her bury her face in embarrassment as she imagines what might happen if some accidental moment occurred between them. Holding up her favorite book, she declares that Masato is exactly like the prince on the cover, but then something suddenly catches her eye. She gets off the bed and walks straight to the mirror. As she looks at herself, she realizes that she does not fit the role at all because beside a hero, there is always supposed to be a lovely heroine, and that that only feels natural. Because of that, she believes there is no way a lame, glasses-wearing high school girl like her could ever end up with such a cool hero. So she concludes that she has no choice but to become more like the heroine and calls out to her mother, asking her to teach her how to do makeup. From that moment on, she changes her entire lifestyle, giving up her habit of braiding her hair and switching from glasses to contact lenses. With this new look, she goes to school the next day, and the moment she enters the classroom, the few girls already there immediately notice her. Sitting at her desk, Shirori hopes she does not look strange and assumes the girls staring at her are probably wondering what a frumpy girl like her is trying to do. Just as she is thinking that, two girls walk up to her and begin staring, which terrifies Shirori. However, one of them speaks in a friendly tone and asks if she got a makeover, saying she gives off a completely different vibe now. Their approach surprises her deeply, and once her fear fades, she confirms that she did. Just like that, she ends up making friends in her class, which amazes her because she used to think normies were an entirely incompatible species. Yet once she actually starts talking to them, they get along surprisingly well. Although Shirori thinks they are a little materialistic, she realizes that she was the one who had been shutting people out until now. Later, Shirori goes to a clothing store with her friends, where one of them asks if she is aiming for a prim and proper look and suggests some clothes that would suit her well. Since Shirori barely owns any casual clothes, her friend picks out several outfits for her, including one she plans to show Masato.